So I'm going to tell you a really interesting story. I've been an extrovert pretty much my entire life. I've always been somebody that's into communication and getting to know people and just, networking and making friends and kind of learning about people. But here's the one tip that really helped me. And it was sort of a fascinating journey of how I got out of being shy at some points in my life and using my extrovert skills. One of the things that I realized is that we as people have a really hard time approaching strangers and people that we don't know. And one of the trips that I took about 11 years ago in 2011, 2012, was a trip 14 days to New York City. And this trip changed my life because while I was there visiting a friend, staying at their place and kind of going around different parts of the city, Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, Manhattan, all throughout the different boroughs, one of the things that I personally challenged myself with is speaking to at least 1,000 people a day. Now, why this is kind of interesting is because New York City is known as one of those places where it's extremely hard to interact with people because everybody's very busy. So this is like proving ground and training ground for those that might be introverts or, trying to get over or handle rejection. It's a really easy playground of just going out there, putting yourself out, and being able to speak to as many people. Now, out of those 1,000 people that I spoke to each day, there were a ton of people that just basically blew me off, right? That's to be expected. But out of that, one of the things that was interesting was that when you were able to get somebody and draw them in just to have a simple conversation, it taught you now how to move on faster when you dealt with that rejection. So this was like a very interesting experiment that I went through younger in my life. But what it taught me was that many times two people are just afraid to walk up to each other and talk. They all know that we're going through very similar things. We have jobs, careers, family, friends, and sometimes it's scary because you don't know the other person. But through this experiment and trial and error, it allowed me to come home and then go out. And when I was interacting with people, it was easier just to talk to people off the cusp because I had already faced rejection and I had handled it through really putting myself out there. It's like a basketball player. If a basketball player does 1,000 hoops and they shoot in the gym all day, they get better over time so that when it's game time, they're able to make that 3-point shot to win the game. Same thing in this experiment. I put myself out, got rejected probably 75 to 80% of the time, but it was a great lesson and I learned how to get over my fear of walking up to people or speaking to people that I might have the first contact on real cold and be able to take over and introduce myself and speak. That was a trip that I took to NYC. It changed my life, and I realized after that it was very comforting knowing how to handle the uncomfortable. Thank you.